If you like our video, click the button to subscribe to our channel and get easy access to new content. To see our full suite of ad-free video courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides, visit us at www.teachucomp.com. You can add text to paths and shapes you draw in Photoshop. If you choose to add text to shapes or closed paths in Photoshop, you can either add the text along the shape or closed path's border, where the text appears as point text along the edge of the shape or closed path, or you can add it into the center of the shape or closed path as paragraph text. Separately, adding text to an open path always adds the text along the border of the open path as point text. However, when adding text along the border in either situation, you can choose on which side of the path or shape to type. You can add text using any of the type tools, but be aware of the restrictions of using the type mask tools, as the raster text they create restricts resizing the text without losing text clarity. While we haven't yet discussed paths and shapes in Photoshop in detail at this point in the tutorial, you will learn about them in the next chapter. In short, both paths and shapes produce vector data, much like the horizontal type tool or vertical type tool. This lets you resize them without reducing their clarity or sharpness. A path is the vector data that determines the outline of a line or shape. A shape is vector data that contains a defined combination of a path, stroke, and fill. However, you can add strokes and fills to both paths and shapes. A path is just a line or outline, not defined the way a shape is, like a triangle, for example. Paths can be open paths, in which the end point of the path doesn't connect back to its starting point, or they can be closed paths, which connect the ending point of the path back to its starting point. There are many ways to create paths and shapes in Photoshop. You can convert paths to shapes and vice versa. You can also convert either paths or shapes to selections or vice versa. You'll see many ways to create paths and shapes in the next chapter. However, let's examine how to create a basic open path now, so you can see how to add text along the border of an open path in Photoshop. To create an open path in Photoshop using the Freeform Pen tool, which lets you create a freeform path line, first show the Paths panel by selecting Window, Paths from the menu bar, or clicking the Paths panel tab if it appears in your workspace. To create a new path in the Paths panel in Photoshop, click the Create New Path button at the bottom of the Paths panel to add a new path to the top of the Paths panel. Click the path name in the Paths panel to ensure that path is selected. To draw an open path line within the selected path, choose the Freeform Pen tool from the Tools panel in Photoshop. This tool shares the same button as the Pen tool, Curvature Pen tool, Add Anchor Point tool, Delete Anchor Point tool, and Convert Point tool, and the button shows the icon of the tool last selected. So if needed, click and hold down on this button in the Tools panel, and then select Freeform Pen tool from the side menu that appears to select it. Ensure Path is selected from the Pick Tool Mode dropdown in the Options bar control panel if needed. Then, click and drag in the document window to draw a free-form line for the selected path in the Paths panel. Do not draw the end of the line back to the starting point. When you release your mouse button, the path line is then selected. To add text to a path in Photoshop, you must first select the path in the Paths panel. Then, with the path to which to add text selected in the Paths panel, click the tab of the Layers panel to switch to the Layers panel. Then click the name of the raster layer in the Layers panel to which to add the text to select it. You should still see the path line appear selected within the layer. You need to select a layer because paths do not create layers in the Layers panel. Separately, to instead add text to a shape layer in Photoshop, you would need to select the shape layer in the Layers panel at this point. Next, select the desired type tool to use to create the text from the Tools panel. To create vector text and turn the selected raster layer into a type layer or create a type layer, choose either the horizontal type tool or vertical type tool. Alternatively, to create a raster text selection, you can then fill and/or stroke in the selected raster layer. Select either the horizontal type mask tool or vertical type mask tool. Then hover your mouse pointer at the point in the path's border at which to start typing until the mouse pointer cursor turns from an I-beam icon surrounded by a box to an I-beam icon bisected by a wave. This shows you that instead of creating a text bounding box, you will add the text to the path's border. When the icon appears like this in the desired position on the path's border, click to add placeholder point text to the selected path segment and switch to the selected tool's text editing mode. The placeholder text shows the length of the text area within which to type on the path's border. To increase this text typing area, if using one of the type tools versus the type mask tools, hold down the Control key or Command for Max on your keyboard. A small X then appears in the lower left corner of the starting location of the placeholder text, and a small empty circle appears at the lower right of the end of the placeholder text. This area between these two icons indicates where the vector text you type appears. To extend the text typing area, click and drag the small empty circle icon that appears towards the lower right corner of the end of the placeholder text out along the path's border to the point at which you want the text area to stop. As you click and drag, your mouse pointer turns into an I-beam with a small black triangle pointing at one side of the path or the other. To choose on which side of the path to type, move the icon to either side of that path at the desired extending spot so its arrow points to the side of the path on which to type. Then release your mouse button to extend the placeholder text around the path on that selected side of the path. Then release the Control key or Command key for Max. Note, however, that switching the side of the path on which you type also often reverses the starting and ending points of the text typing area and the text itself. If needed, to set the starting point of the text and also choose the side at which to start the text area, hold down the Control key or Command for Max, and then click and drag the small X icon to the lower left of the text starting area. This works the same as setting the ending point of the text area. At that point, then set any text formatting options in the Options Bar control panel as usual. Then type the text to show along the text area on the path's border. To adjust the text area if needed, hold down the Control key or Command for Max once again, and repeat the process of adjusting the typing area. Again, Note no text area adjustments are available if using the Type Mask tools. To confirm the text when you are ready to apply it, click the Confirm button in the Options bar control panel. Alternatively, to cancel the text, click the Cancel button. If you added vector text along a path using the horizontal type tool or vertical type tool, the selected layer in the Layers panel is then converted into a type layer. When that layer is selected, you can then click the Paths panel to view the separate type path created by the type tool. While you initially used another path along which to create the text, after creating it, you must then edit this type path to change the path of the type layer if needed. You can also use the same type tool you used to create the text to edit the text in the future as usual. Separately, if you added text along a Shape Layers border in the Layers panel, a separate type layer for the text is then added to the Layers panel. If you created text using the horizontal type mask tool or vertical type mask tool in Photoshop, then use the text selection you confirmed to apply a fill or stroke to the pixels in the selected raster layer. Remember to click the subscribe button to see more of our videos. See our full suite of courses, instruction manuals, and quick reference guides at www.teachucomp.com.